Hey, what's up, guys? Note Investor here. Man, it's been a while. Thanks for being here today. I am back to it. I took a little bit of a break, about a week off. I had a slight, very minor medical procedure done early last week. I thought I'm going to just take it easy for a couple of days. And that's what I've been doing, relaxing, resting. So I haven't posted much on Twitter. I haven't posted much on YouTube. I've been active on the Slack group a little bit here and there. We did a live stream yesterday for the private group members, kicking off the next cycle. We started a new month. The cycle goes from the 15th through the 15th of every month. And so we kicked that off yesterday and just mostly just been posting on the Slack side of things. And even then it's been a little bit lighter, but here we are back to it. I didn't take a complete break from trading. Unfortunately, I don't think I took a single break from trading. I was still kind of trading here and there. But we are going to take a look at these markets. Of course, Bitcoin, what's happening here? Little toppy or just another consolidation? We'll deep dive that chart, of course, and we'll talk Facebook's Libra. Of course, you guys have probably all been inundated with thoughts on Libra. I actually saw Mike Novogratz on CNBC earlier today talking about this and what it means for crypto and the space in general. And he's just kind of confirming a lot of what we've been saying here. I mentioned to the Slack group yesterday that, the actual token, it's, I'm not so sure it's going to be a huge speculative vehicle. It's intended to be a little bit more of a stable coin. That type of mechanism won't be 100% stable coin because it's going to be based on a basket of currencies, but it's not necessarily going to be kind of a free floating project-based token, if you will. So there's some thoughts. We'll certainly go into that a little bit more and, of course, cover the charts. I'm going to try to keep it brief. I'm thinking 30, maybe 40 minutes tops. So it's going to be a quick one. And I'll try to save some time here, of course, for some chart requests. As always, the ever popular live streams here. Thanks for being here. As always, we will be talking alerts. We'll look at the watch list, see what's happening, seeing Zcoin pop in here a little bit. Most of the other names have been just mostly small cap names here as of late, but we'll get to it. If you're not familiar, of course, most of you are. NoteInsiders.com is where you can join us if you are a subscribing member to the alert system, or if you purchase my video training course at NoteInvestor.com. You will get an invite to our Slack group and join our community there. So check that out, noteinsiders.com. So let's take a look at Bitcoin first. I had to pause there. I was about to say, let's take a look at Facebook. Oh, God, it's happening. So let's take a look at Bitcoin first, and we'll see what's going on there. So looking at the chart here, the main thing to note, of course, is we did have a breakouts on the daily chart over that prior level, which was that swing high. For me, that was basically that 9,000 level. And then, of course, if you count the wick, at the very upper end of that wick here, we were looking at 9,100, 9,200 essentially. I'm looking at Bitstamp. It's essentially the same on Coinbase. We'll hop to a couple of other charts. I'm just using this because it's a cleaner chart. I have my other one marked up. That's the only reason. But we broke out from that, seeing a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a pullback. On the 4-hour chart, does look a little bit toppy, I will say, but until it reverses, right, you got to give the breakout the benefit of the doubt here. The moving averages are just kind of playing catch up right now. Let me change the color of that. I was doing something earlier. The moving averages are playing catch up right now. You can see the 10 EMA sitting still way down here at 8,700 basically on the daily chart. This candle is about to roll over, will roll over during the course of the live stream. And that will start to tick this moving average even higher. And then the 22 EMA is way down here at 8,300. As far as support levels go, I'm looking at 8,800 as that first level. That was really the breakout level and was my prior target once we broke out above this prior resistance back here last week. 8,100, 8,200 was really the level that we were watching to break out on the Slack group. Once it started to clear that 8,200, I was looking for a target in that 88 to 9K level. Essentially got there and then popped over it here. Yesterday saw 9,400 print, but is pulling back here right now. So a little bit toppy looking here. If we go to the daily chart and just kind of look at some of the oscillators, there is a potential divergence starting to show up here. You can see both on the RSI and on the MACD histogram charts, the latest push to new highs is not being confirmed by both of these oscillators. Now, it's important to note that this is a potential divergence, and I say that because price had a pretty good pullback, right? Almost 20%. And that was what was needed to kind of reset the charts. Now, notice the RSI at the low end paused above 40, which is an important level to maintain the bull zone, as I like to say. And we're starting to push higher. So just because it's pulling back here a little bit doesn't necessarily mean it's a confirmed divergence. You won't know that until prices really start to break some support and change the trend on the daily chart, because this just reset things. And certainly price could continue higher, and the RSI has room to run before it's considered overbought or extended. So just make note of that. At this point, it's a potential divergence, but if prices continue lower, then this will confirm what we are potentially seeing there in the price action. So let's zoom in here a little bit more and check it out on the 4-hour time frame, which is generally my trading time frame. This is generally the analysis point that I will use, is the 4-hour point of view, and then just kind of look for setups and patterns from here. Going from here, you can see this 8,800 level. Let me dial the line down a little bit more so it's exact 8,800. That's really the level that I'm watching as far as the first support level. That was this prior breakout point. We broke through that, and it's just kind of very choppy. I mean, look at how clean the price action was once it broke above that 8,200 level. I mean, it was a pretty clean, steady march right up to that target, and then a little bit parabolic here. And since then, just like real choppy action and a little bit of a battle going on here. And so that's what I'm watching. But, you know, I've been scaling here a little bit on some of these dips. We'll see how it goes. There's an argument, and a valid one, to be made for a potential ascending triangle to be formed, right? So you had this rally, a little bit of pause, another bit of a rally, try to break out, pause. If it holds, it makes a higher low, then this is going to be a nice bullish ascending base that's forming a good consolidation. And I'm going to be watching out for that here. It's looking positive, but of course, if we break below 8,800, then that's kind of bets off on that, in my opinion. So a little bit of a critical juncture here, right? You could see this form a couple of different ways. This could top out. Let's say it bounces here, breaks below 8,800, right? That's going to really start to change the trend. If it rallies and can't really quite get to that prior high close to 9,400, then it starts to look a little head and shoulder-ish, right? If that's a word. And same kind of general effect. So what you want to see here now is this general low right now hold. I want to see price rally right back to 93, 9,400, and then maybe slightly dip and then push through. That'd be a very positive, very bullish ascending consolidation, but it could go either way here. So in all fairness, it is looking a little bit bearish from the short-term perspective. RSI never even ticked back over 75, 80. The MACD never ticked back into the green before prices started to retreat again from yesterday's high. And so, you know, there's certainly some cross currents to be making note of here. At the end of the day, until it's out of this range, it's just chop. It's just noise for me. 8,800 on the low end, 9,400 on the upside, everything in between. I'm going to just be patient, let this thing play out, let it wait, and we'll see where it goes from here. I will make note that the volume patterns on the recent price action is leaning bearish, right? There's been a lot more selling volume than there is buying volume. Another item to make note of there. So we'll see where we go. Again, if it pulls back down, even down to the moving average, 86, 8,700, it's still very bullish in the big picture, right? I mean, technically the trend is still your friend. You're still above key moving averages. The moving averages are still positively correlated. Never had that bearish cross. Came really close here, but never did. And so in the big picture, right, things are still edging higher. Now the alts, totally different story. It's primarily been a Bitcoin show, and alts are just continuing to lag. Of course, there's outliers. There always will be, but generally speaking, the altcoin market as a whole has been lagging BTC significantly here since April, really, since that top in April when Bitcoin broke out. Most alts, you know, we've seen brief periods of little pops, but they've been short-lived, right? I mean, there hasn't been a true what we call alt season since April, right? You've had these short-lived pops. They've been maybe a couple of days long, maybe a week, but that's probably about it. And then they kind of retreat. But there's some setups that I'm watching. I know I've been out for a little bit last week, caught some good action on BNB, USD, of course, before the news broke. killed that trade, but I was in this trade here when it broke out, caught this nice little rally. My target was 36 on that trade, hit it almost to the penny, and then the news broke, washed that out. So it did make some on that trade just because I was scaling on into that target. Pulled back. We'll see where it goes. It's kind of just choppy here in no man's land. And then, of course, Litecoin was the big trade. Probably my best trade here in the last couple of weeks all around, just because I managed to catch a really good entry on that. Got in at 105 here as it started to break out, rode that up, sold into that 120, started to reload and added as it broke out again, and scaled out into 139 last week before I decided to take my medical break. And so 139 turned out to be a pretty good exit for me, just as that was pretty close to the top, but it's looking really nice here, to be honest. So I do have some orders out there for this guy. I was watching this one yesterday, and I pointed this one out to the private group here. I was watching for a break below that 128 level. Came pretty close here today. Never quite hit that mark. 129 was really the low point. I was hoping to see another little bit dip. I would have filled in some order there. Never quite happened. But then it popped here today. But this is starting to form a very nice symmetrical triangle pattern, a good consolidation, a continuation pattern technically, but symmetrical pattern meaning it could go either way. And so it's not a truly confirmed breakout until it breaks above this 140 level. However, an early entry point for me will be getting above 137, 138. You start to see that. I don't think 140 is going to be much of a resistance level. So definitely one to watch here. It's looking positive, all things being equal. Bitcoin certainly could change the picture, right? Bitcoin rolls over here, sees a sharp sell-off. As the market generally goes, the alts get hit even harder, and I think Litecoin would be included with that. Litecoin does have that catalyst. Keep that in mind. We got the halving happening in less than a month? About a month and a half-ish. So it's coming up soon. I still think there's some more price action to go into that event, and we're seeing a pretty good consolidation here. So the two levels to be watching on Litecoin from the USD side of things, and I'll take a look at the BTC pair here shortly. Official breakout would be over 140 on Litecoin. I'm going to get in earlier if it starts to push higher here. And then on the downside, if it starts to lose 128, 126, won't look as nice anymore. So I'm not going to like it that much if it starts to really lose that level. But really, there's some key support in the low 120 range. So you could see a little bit of a washout that kind of pushes that and then gets going. But at that point, not quite as bullish of a setup as we have it here. So at this point, it had a good test, it made a higher low, still making a symmetrical pattern. I want to see it confirm now and take out that range there. If you do a measured move on this target here, this is, there's a couple of ways to do targets, but I'm going to do a measured move, see if it lines up with any sort of resistance. That takes it to about basically 149, 150, good round number there on the upside. My targets have really been in the upper 100s, right? So 160 to 175. I've mentioned 175 is kind of my all-around target for the halving. So we'll see if it gets there. But the big longer-term trend still very much in place. This is a positive, bullish, constructive consolidation. Now let's see if it can break out. But as always, gonna just really depend on what BTC does here. But this has been a good reset on some of these oscillators. So Litecoin is probably at the top of my list right now in terms of setups that I'm seeing here that I'm liking. Let's take a look at the BTC pair before we move on. Looking at Litecoin BTC. Finally edging out above this downtrend here. Let me clear some of these lines. We were talking Litecoin yesterday, so I was marking this all up. But look at how much this has really retreated versus BTC here. And I had some targets on the BTC pair, on the LTC BTC pair. My first target was here, and back in here. Did exceed that, but look at it's kind of giving it all back up. And I mentioned, this is probably not a place to chase it if you're not already in it. Wait for a pause, a consolidation. You finally got that. And it's always nice to see it come right back to the prior breakout point and hold. And that's what you're seeing here. Look at this deep pullback right above the breakout point. And now it's starting to bounce here a little bit and breaking this downtrend. Price on this last 4-hour candle is also getting back above some of the key moving averages that I watch. So good pullback, could be a good secondary entry point, corresponds with a potential breakout on the USD side of things. And so at this point, as long as it continues to hold above that 1400 level, and that was really the must hold level that I pointed out, it's still holding that level. So as long as it continues to hold that, LTC BTC is, looking like that may be the pullback, the end of the pullback there. So we'll see how that goes. Don't want to see this turn into a big double top, of course. You got that potentially forming here on this daily, but 4-hour view, shorter time frames certainly look a lot more positive. So we'll see how that goes. I'm going to be coming in from the USD side on this guy if I do enter. So that's the chart I'm really watching there. All right, let's see here. Let's go to ETH. Looking at the Ethereum. So I was waiting for a little bit of a push over this zone. Let me go to the daily chart because this is really the bigger setup here on the daily chart. You got to zoom out on ETH here. And since the mid part of May, it's really just been in chop zone from the USD side, right? BTC has been a lot stronger. ETH BTC finally broke below some support, not good. But the USD side, it's still setting up for a potential breakout. So you can't write this one off. Getting above the 250s was positive. That was really the first support level or resistance level that I wanted to see recapture. It finally did that last week, rallied right up to 278, couldn't quite break out, but it's holding up. It's sitting right there around 260. So definitely liking this one. Above 275, maybe 280 if you wanted to be a little bit more conservative, would be a good breakout on that daily chart. First target on the upside, I'm looking for around 320. Then above that, 360 to 400 would be kind of the big target for me on Ethereum USD. So we'll see where this one goes. But if you look at it from the BTC pair, it was holding up until this week, and I don't like that. It was pulling back, held the support. This is when Bitcoin first tried to break out. Like ETH was getting going, pulled right back, but continued to hold support until this week. You saw this thing finally crack, and the last 3 days have been trading below this support level that had held for all of May and early part of June. So don't like to see that. At this point, now you're looking for a higher low after this big impulse move up at the beginning of May and see where it goes from there. So if it breaks out on the USD side, that may translate into, a potential reversal out of this year, but that could also mean just Bitcoin going higher. And at that point, the decision is, would you rather be in BTC or would you rather be in ETH? And if ETH BTC is rolling over like this, maybe the answer is just hold Bitcoin, right? So that's what I'm looking at on the ETH side. All right, that's probably all I have on my list here. I've got a few that I was looking at here, but I'm gonna make some time to give my very brief thoughts on Facebook and all that good stuff. And then we'll take a look at some of these charts. I know you guys are talking XRP, you're talking other names here. We'll absolutely take a look at some of those. I was trading Tron here. Let's see how that one's looking. Zcash has been probably one of the stronger names here as of late. Still going. Nice little pop there. So we'll see how these are doing. And I'm just kind of quickly cycling through before we deep dive some of those charts. So cool. All right. Before we do that, let's talk Facebook because everyone's heard about this by now. We've all been seeing the news. We've heard this coming. As I mentioned yesterday with the private group, right? The thoughts were this is intended to be a token that's going to be used as a payment method for, everyday stuff. And that's the intention behind this. And so as far as it being kind of a speculative vehicle, much like we see on project tokens, right? I don't expect it's going to really be that. Will there be fluctuations? Yes. I mean, unless they 100% pegged it to a single currency like the US dollar, there's by nature going to be fluctuations. Will it be tradable? I don't know. I mean, maybe on the Forex exchanges, you could see something like that, right? Where you can trade, Libra dollar, Libra pound, Libra yen, something like that. But I don't expect there's going to be huge volatility, much like we see in the crypto space, right? I mean, can you expect Libra going up or down 10% in a day? If they do, then that's going to start to counteract some of what they're trying to achieve here, being, hey, you can pay with Libra at your grocery store or with Uber or buying stuff online or tipping people or doing all that stuff, right? That's really what they're looking to do here. And I can't imagine it's going to be that big of a fluctuation. Now, there's a security token that's the other side of this coin, if you will. And that certainly is intended to gain some value. If you're a node, not a node, if you're if you run a node, you're going to gain some interest on some of the holdings and all that. So we'll see where this goes. There's still quite a bit of time left before this is truly live and rolled out, but it's making all the news right now. You're seeing already, regulators talking about, you better stop work on that until you talk to us, blah, 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 blah. Not to take Facebook's back, but it's always hilarious to see the regulators come out and want to regulate the hell out of everything before everything's even done. It's like, people, let some innovation happen. But yeah, the thing with this is it's not truly a crypto per se, in the sense of the word crypto that you and I have come to know and appreciate because we've been in this space here, right? It's really just a digital token. I mean, that's what it is. Yes, it's going to have nodes and it's going to run similar to a crypto, but it's going to be truly centralized, censored, controlled, and it's really just kind of the next evolution of where money's going to go anyway. I mean, if you look at what's happening in China and what's been happening there for years, right? Something like 80-90% of all payments happen through these mobile apps, right? You have like Alipay and WeChat, where people can buy movie tickets and pay for stuff and buy food and all that stuff through their mobile apps. In the Western world, here in the US, it's not anywhere near as prevalent as it is in China. And so this is just kind of catching up in a lot of ways, going down that path where you're going to see, mobile payments, the disappearance of cash and all that stuff really start to accelerate. And, people like my mom and my aunts and my grandparents are not going to buy, Bitcoin on Coinbase and pay with the wallet. But if Facebook makes it easy for them to do something like that on their accounts or through Messenger or through Instagram, they're just going to do it. That's just the nature of it, and unfortunately, that's the path it's going to go. Now, my cynical self sees the real reason behind this, the nefarious reason behind this. Facebook advertises this as, oh, we're going to bank the unbanked, and this is going to be inclusive, and this is about, helping people and, making it easy and all that stuff. And will it make it easy? Yes. Will it make it convenient? Absolutely, right? I mean, technology is a blessing in that regard, but let's look at history and know what exactly does Facebook do. I mean, they're a business, and I know that this is not just Facebook. I understand this is like the Libra Association. Facebook will be a part of it, and it's going to be other people that are involved, other entities. So I get that. But at the end of the day, it's about control. It's about information. And if you have a token that becomes currency for everyday use and for people, then you can at that point start to do a lot more things, like track where the money is coming and going, who owns it, what are they buying with it, blocking money from moving, and a lot more, right? It's just like suddenly you centralize the data, as opposed to right now, if you want to know about transactions, like, you have to go to every individual bank account. Okay, pull up their assets, pull up their bank account, tell me what they've bought and sold. This is the reverse, right? You can take a coin and say, where has this been? Who's owned it? What did they buy with it? Where did it go? And it's just going to really be, and you can do that with the current blockchain, right? You can do that with Bitcoin. You can tell where the money's moving, where it's going. And you may not know who owns the wallets, but with Facebook, you will know who owns the wallets. You will know, who owns the accounts. And that's, at the end of the day, what this is all about, right? The global state, the ultimate currency. Is Facebook, Libra going to be the one world currency? I doubt it. But it's another step in that direction. And so that's where it's at. That's where it's going. We'll see where this goes. This is kind of all in the news right now. It's made for some good trading, though, I got to say. Yesterday, I do day trade stocks. Yesterday, Facebook was my single biggest trade. I went Facebook long. And guess what? Today, my best trade was Facebook short. And so that's just the way nature goes. I mean, Facebook has just been a stock that's been in play here for a long time. I mean, since the month of June, it was down at 160 and had a tremendous rally. I saw it gapping up here today. It was hitting 194 at the open. Pre-market was getting exhausted. I thought, this is looking really exhausted. I'm going to wait for a setup to the downside. And man, did it give it. It just really started to roll over right at the open. You can see Facebook just got smashed pretty hard. It hit that gap up and just really sold off pretty hard here at the open, rallied, and just really made for some pretty good short opportunities here today. So Facebook on the short side, nice to do that. We'll see where it goes tomorrow. I think some of this has been played out. Some of this has been factored in. So I think there's a little bit more downside to go on Facebook stock itself. So that's it. That's my rant on Facebook. Tomorrow is also OFMC day, so I think the gold stocks will be in play. I trade gold and silver stocks usually only around the FOMC meetings, so that's tomorrow. I did post a video on that. If you're curious to learn more about that, check that out on my YouTube channel. I posted a video about gold and silver and trading it and all that good stuff. All right, back to crypto. So let's look at the charts here. I'm going to go through some of your guys' names. We'll see what else is on the list here. I covered some of the big hitters. And let's see here. So what do we got here? Let's start with some of the biggies. Let's do XRP. Going down the list, I'm going to start at the BTC side. XRP, BTC, let's zoom out here real quick. The big picture chart is still ugly, right? I mean, it had some bounces along the way, but just big picture chart is just ugly versus, BTC here. It is coming to some long time support here. We did see a bounce off of this in May, and that was very short-lived, basically 2 days, pulled back, a little bit of a bounce here, but it's just not really been, the strongest name in the bunch here as of late. We'll look at the dollar pair, but looking at it from BTC side here, kind of lagging. Now, in the very short run, if you look at the 4-hour view, could this be a series of higher lows starting to form? Yes, but I want to see some confirmation, right? And we're getting a setup here that could give you that. So what I'm looking for is this blue area that I have shaded. Basically, it has to make a higher low above the last big impulse leg that we saw here. This may have just been driven by XRP, Ripple Labs' investment in MoneyGram this week. So, if that was it, news-driven pump, then this is not going to have much legs. And so what I want to see is this thing hold right here and start to turn the corner and at least take out the highs of the last 2 4-hour candles. If it can do that, that really looks good. And you might just see that in one fell swoop like you've seen here in the past with these big rallies. So that's what I'm looking for there on XRP. I'm not going to front run it because it looks weak all around. Facebook Libra, could it be a threat to XRP? It could be, right? I mean, especially with the partners that they're gaining, Facebook undoubtedly has much stronger relationships and partnerships than Ripple Labs does. And so just something to make note of there. XRP dollar, if we look at that one, I did mention this one in the Slack group yesterday as one I'm looking at for a potential pullback entry. We saw that big pump yesterday, a lot of volume, and on this pullback, the volume has been low, but I was hoping that it would have stopped by now, right? I was wanting to see a pullback. I wasn't going to chase it. I told the group I wouldn't chase it, but I said, if I see a pullback, I'll take a look at it there. Ideally, the best pullback for me would have been this candle right there. If it would have stopped there and started to rally at that point, it would have looked much stronger. This pullback's starting to get a little long in the tooth, and it's also starting to undercut, this big support, which that was really where all the volume came in, right? So it really tells you, did those buyers really have that much conviction? They're kind of giving it up right here. So at this point, I'm just going to wait and keep an eye on this one. I was hoping that pullback would have ended today. It's still dropping. So at this point, until it can take out this downtrend, nothing for me to do, just because XRP all around just doesn't look that strong here. So, all right, let's see here. What are some of the other names that we were looking at? BNB. Let's go back to BNB. And so BNB, in summary, for me, it's just kind of in no man's land now. After the news that broke last week about, U.S. and starting to close the doors, like, it had a big negative reaction to that. And it's real interesting to see that news came out right as prices were at a key resistance level, right? You can see where this had been a breakout point. I was already in the trade from the USD side of things, and it was like, all right, if this thing breaks out from the BTC pair, this thing's going to really get going. And then it just smacked right from that level. That formed a big bearish reversal candle on the daily chart, and to me, it looks broken. It just looks ugly, choppy from this pair. Nothing for me to do. It's bouncing right now, but it's just bouncing right into resistance. So until it gets a strong reversal, I'm just going to wait on this guy here. There's not really a whole lot for me to do on the big picture thing. It's still, it just depends on what your time frame is. If you're a long-term holder, right, and you're kind of buying on the weekly charts, like this is nothing, right? This is a blip. But if you zoom in here, it was a big move. It was a big deal. If you go to the BNB USD side, it's kind of in no man's land, right? It had that breakout above that $32 level last week, rallied right to resistance, 36, and then got smacked pretty hard. There was some good volume there at the bottom, good washout, and it's just been stair-stepping its way higher here. But it's kind of in no man's land, right? At this point, I'm going to wait for it to break out again over 36 or wait for it to drop support at 31. Until then, I'm just going to wait on this guy here. Let's see here. What were some of the other names you guys wanted to see? So we did XRP, we did BNB. Let's do Zcash. Zcash has been nice. I'm going to go Zcash Bitcoin first. Nice little breakout here above this. And we saw Zcash really get juiced up last week, and I was not quite sure what was driving that. I saw the big spike. Didn't do a whole lot of research in it, and just over the weekend just really started to fade that move, but that turned out to be a pretty good little retest of this long time support back in here. You saw that move fade right into that level and then really kicked off after that and got going here in the last couple of days. So very strong action in Zcash. The daily chart looks really strong, and you can see these higher lows and higher highs really starting to step up. You got a lot of volume coming in, and so from that perspective looks good, but I must say it is running right up into resistance now, and this really would have been my target on the upside. And then above that, I'd be looking, around here, so about 1480s or so, 1400. So you're kind of approaching an interesting point here. Would make sense to see a little bit of a pause, a little bit of a breather from this point, but the volume there is very compelling. So certainly the bulls are in charge with Zcash. If you look at it from the dollar pair, again, daily chart has just been marching along very nicely here in the month of May and June. And really your breakout point here on the dollar side of things was this move over that 92.70 level. A beautiful breakout here from that zone, and it's just been marching higher, not even dipping below that 10 EMA on the 4-hour chart. So the trend is your friend. It is a little extended now, no doubt. You saw the RSI starting to really peak out there. It's currently sitting at 82, 83, getting a little choppy here at the top. So not saying it's a sell automatically, but I'm not so sure I'd be chasing it at this point. Ideally, you'd like to see a little bit of a pause or a pullback or a new base setting up. Monero. Looking at Monero, another privacy coin. Monero's been sitting in a very tight range. Pretty good little breakout setup if there's going to be a little bit of a sympathy play on the privacy names. And so I'd be watching this here, really starting to wedge out, really getting pretty narrow there in terms of the price range. So the key level that I'd be watching, this is Monero BTC. If it starts to hold and close above that 1070 level, 1075 if you wanted to be conservative, then that's a pretty good breakout from that perspective. Looking at it from the USD side, Monero dollar, not quite as strong, just kind of rolling over, holding par with BTC. BTC's pulling back, so that's the hourlies. If you go to the 4-hour chart, maybe a little bit of a bull flag type of pattern. There's a lot of volume on the sell side right now, so we'll see where it goes. I mean, this would be the place where you really want to see it hold. The reason for that is this is the prior breakout point, prior resistance. It held, popped higher, so holding above this would be ideal. That's $94 basically, needs to hold above. And if we could break this downtrend, maybe you got a little bit of a down, a little bit of a bull flag setup here on Monero, and that could correspond with a breakout on the BTC pair. I personally would rather take it from the BTC side if I'm holding Bitcoin, maybe trading into XMR on a breakout type of trade. All right, Monero, let's see here. Litecoin, we looked at Litecoin, so I'll pass that one up for now and get through some of these other ones. Let's see here. Catching up on the comments, guys. One sec here. Yeah, let's look at some of these IEOs. I'm going to cycle through them quickly, but you look at names like Matic. I'm going to go to the bigger picture charts here. Matic maybe putting in a low here, and look at this. Matic had that big pullback, which had that pretty good secondary rally from that point on the 3rd of June, and this most recent pullback takes it right back to that point. And so this is interesting here. Now, granted, this is a much lower high that we saw. So in the big picture, it's just kind of starting to go sideways here. But you could get another little bounce off this level that you're seeing right now. Certainly there's a case to be made for a little bit of a reversal starting to form here on that 4-hour view. We'll see. I'd like to see some confirmation to the upside. The upside level here is basically going to be, 260 on the pair there. So on the BTC pair, you're looking at 260. So that's what I'd be looking at for Matic. One, there's another one here. Another one. So that's it on the BTC side. Has been in the downtrend. Very similar, looking like in the near term, getting some good action here. Let's go one USD side. Probably looks a lot stronger here. Good support around that 0.02, 0.0208, and 2.3 is really the next level up that it's testing right now. So take a look at that guy. Let me see here. Yeah, let's go to Tron. So Tron dollar, I was really liking. This is a trade setup that I posted for the Slack group yesterday, and really my setup here yesterday was, it had pulled back and it was testing that 0.0336, basically 3.4, and I was wanting to see that edge out, so I started to take a position there, and of course it pulled right back, and I was waiting until it broke 3.2 to really clear out of that. It's going to give it a really tight stop, and it came really close. I mean, within 1/10 of a penny. And so far it's bouncing, but the fact that it tried to break out and pulled back right away is not too encouraging, but it is holding a little bit of a trend. And so we'll see if that can continue to hold. Maybe it's forming a little ascending consolidation here at the midpoint and is still setting out for a breakout. Ideally, it needs to hold above 0.034. Starting to hold above that would start to confirm this consolidation and then really get going. Above that level, then the target is really the upper end of the prior consolidation. So in this zone, and that's really what I'm looking for on the upside as the first target if this breaks out. So Tron's definitely setting up here, one to watch. I'm just playing it tight, especially coming in from the USD side, mostly because BTC is looking a little vulnerable here. Let's put it that way. Tron BTC. What's Tron BTC look like? Here's the other thing, right? Tron BTC is not exactly in a strong trend. It is maybe rounding out a bottom, but ideally, you want to see this thing take out this downtrend and start changing this pattern of lower lows and start making some higher lows, which most alts really aren't, right? I mean, they're just kind of all looking a little weak here. Not all, but a lot of them are looking a little weak here. All right, let's see here. Looking at Theta. Theta, man. Theta was setting up a little bit of a wedge here and just really rolled over in the last couple of days and just really dropping. It is finding a little bit of support, here at this prior low. But, I mean, you really don't want to see that break below that point. It's really not looking too strong. I mean, it's probably a little bit overdone. You're seeing a positive bullish divergence here in the near term. So, maybe a little bit of a bounce, but I would expect there's probably gonna be a lower high. It just doesn't look strong after breaking out of that wedge to the downside. VeChain BTC here. VeChain dollar was really the pair I was looking at. Let's go to VeChain dollar. VeChain dollar is really the setup I'm watching. I'll look at Cardano right now because a lot of these names were setting up very similar on the dollar pairs, right? The big dollar USD, the daily charts. They've all been bumping up to this long time resistance level. I mean, this is going back to basically the top in April for a lot of these alts, and they're just kind of sitting tight. And it makes you wonder, like, are they putting in really big tops and this thing's about to roll over? or are some of these going to start breaking out and start showing some positive action, right? So it's kind of at a crux. I'm not going to front run this one. I'm going to wait for this to actually show some strength and start to move to the upside. If you look at Cardano from the dollar pair, very similar action. You look at the high that was set in April, pulled back, and then here in the last couple of weeks, really sitting tight at an upper end of the range here. But again, I just want to see these things pop through and start clearing some of that resistance. But Cardano's looking nice, so I really like the setup here on the dollar side of things. It's ready to break out, so we'll see if it can push through. So definitely something to watch there. Let's see what else, you guys. Let's take a quick hop over to this, see what's on the list here. We looked at Zcash. I'm going to skip some of these smaller cap names that are moving right now. Zcoin has been moving. What's on the watch list here that's not a USD pair? Not a whole lot. It's a small list right now. BNB showing some strength, Zcash, Zcoin, and some small stuff. So that's the market right now. Kind of feels that way. All right, some other names that were strong here. We'll look at Neo USD. Looking at Neo Dollar. My chart is messy here. It's been in this broader channel since the low in December, but in the near term, is this a double top or is this about to break out? And that's the big question here. $15 is really that breakout point. That's really been the target here on the upside anyway, since the move back in here. $15 was kind of that target. It hit that, pulled right back, hit that again. So if you're bullish on this one, what you want to see this do is form a little bit of a handle here at this point, right, and not get much below these moving averages. So on the price pair, that's basically holding $12.90, $13. If it holds above $13 and starts to get going again, that looks good. It could be a potential cup and handle type of pattern here that you're seeing form in the recent couple of weeks here, basically since the start of June. So that's Neo. BCH, looking at Bitcoin Cash. I've been watching Bitcoin Cash from the BTC pair, and it's just until that one does anything constructive, just really nothing for me to do. It was setting up here a few weeks back, like maybe it wanted to, but just here recently is losing a little bit of steam, rolling over. It's right back to the most recent support back here, but not exactly looking bullish from this pair. So this is the pair I'm watching. BCH dollar, of course, is going to be a little bit different because of the strong action in Bitcoin. And so, yeah, you can say, hey, this is a good breakout setup from that perspective. The breakout point here is $460. And, you can see a little bit of an ascending base starting to form on that side, much like a lot of these alts right now, right? You look at them from the BTC pair, they just don't look too hot. But you look at them from the USD side, right? Ethereum, Cardano, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. A lot of these are setting up for some potential breakouts. So at the end of the day, it's going to really come down to what does BTC do? If it just starts to chop around here and maybe go sideways, maybe you see a little bit of rotation. If it sees a pretty steep drop, I would expect the alts are going to get hit like they usually do. And so we'll see where Bitcoin does. So the new candle just rolled over. It's 5 minutes old into the new daily candle. What we're looking for here, let me clear some of these levels. On the BTC side, I want to see a higher low form here at this point above this low, and that could really set up a real constructive kind of ascending base here at this point. Ultimately, though, I want to see that higher low hold, rally close to that 9,400 level, maybe a brief pause, and then we want to see that guy break out. That'd be a classic ascending triangle base. We've seen that back here, right? This was a classic ascending triangle base back here. This one was much stronger looking, in my opinion, than the one up here. This one's much smaller, so that was a good breakout. We'll see if we get another run. All right. Kind of hitting my time here. Let me see what else we want to look at. Civic. There's a name from yesteryear. How's Civic looking these days? Civic. Man, I haven't looked at this chart in a while. Big picture view, the chart looks ugly. This is a long time chart. If you look at Civic on Bittrex, it goes back, way back. way back for you crypto veterans. I mean, Civic's a long time name, but if you're a believer in the project, and I'm not personally, I just hate to say it, but a lot of these projects, they had good ideas. They were the early runners. But you look at names like Golem, names like Civic, Siacoin, a lot of these names that they just have huge competition now. Is it truly going to pan out? Is it really going to be the thing it was intended to be? I'm not convinced, right? Not because the tech might not be good or anything, but it's just the competition, the execution, partnerships, all that stuff. It matters, in the world of startups. What is the other ones here? Atom. Oh, that's right. Forgot Atom. Let's do Cosmos. Question on BNB, sell or keep. That's a hard question to answer because it just depends on where you got it, how long you've been holding it, if you're trading it, if you're an investor. I mean, it's just all that, right? I think it took some damage with the recent news. It's going to lose a little steam, but it's in no man's land right now. So really, getting back over $36 BNB is positive, kind of recovers from that. And then at that point, I'll start trading it on the long side again. Getting below $31 is really negative in my opinion. So you're kind of in the middle there. And if it loses that lower end, $30, $31, then it probably goes lower in my opinion. The BTC pair of BNB just looks ugly right now. It's just choppy. Looking at this one, it looks pretty interesting here because you've got a pullback that is so far finding some support right at these key moving averages on the daily chart. So I'd be watching for a potential confirmation to the upside. I don't like to front run anything in this market just because things are a little hazy from the alt side of things. But if it starts to push out of this zone here, definitely one to watch. Right. Cool. All right, guys. Well, wanted to keep this one a little bit shorter here. And I think we've accomplished that. Really, you just wanted to bring a quick update. I haven't posted a video in a while. If you missed the beginning of the video, you'll know why. So go back and rewatch the first 10 minutes. We did some Bitcoin analysis. We looked at the big names, ETH, Litecoin, XRP. We did most of those names. So if you missed those, go check those out. Really, at the end of the day, I'm watching BTC here, potentially setting up a little bit of a consolidation ascending base. But in all fairness, this could go either way. And a break below that 8,800 level is not going to look positive. And you could see a quick move down to 86. Ultimately, as long as 82 holds, still okay on the daily chart. If it starts to lose that level, then things start to look a little bit more negative. So those are really the levels I'm watching. But best case scenario for me right now is it holds this low, rallies right back to 9,400, and then sets up a little bit of a breakout here in the short term. So for now, I'm just going to watch this zone, right? This 8,800 on the downside and 9,400 on the upside. Yeah, it's a little bit of a wide range, but everything in between there is just kind of noise in my opinion. It's just chop. And so until we break out of that, not a whole lot to do for me. Looking at the LTC side, that's probably the better setup that I'm watching right now. I'd like to see this guy bust through out of that. Many of the alts, as I mentioned, are setting up on the USD side of things. Look at ETH potentially setting up for a breakout over that 280 level. Cardano was setting up on the daily chart. So there's quite a few of them out there. It's not all horrible. There's certainly some opportunity potentially setting up. But at this point, it's kind of a little bit of a be patient and let's see what happens over the next couple of days. And so that's really that's the name of the game for me right now. Just don't overtrade it. The market's choppy, so just kind of let it play out. Link, yeah, Link has been a good one. Let's go to Link real quick here. I was watching Link, and I didn't trade this one. I missed this pullback breakout we saw yesterday. It is kind of going flat now. It hit the first target on the pullback. If I was trading this one, it would have been a bounce trade. So it hit the 618 target on the bounce. You can see this low point here, rally 382, 618, had a quick wick over. and it's just kind of been sitting tight since then. So not sure what the setup is here at this point. On the daily chart, still looks fine, right? The daily chart's just consolidating this big move that it had. Of course, this was kind of, the Google news, if you will. Is that enough to keep the rally going? It was already strong, and Link has been one of the stronger names for a long time, right? Remember, Link was one of the first names to break into new all-time highs in the midst of the bear market. And so, in January, Link was pushing through, and it's just already been a long name. I like this one from a long-term perspective. It's been a favorite of mine for quite some time. I like the project. I like their vision, what they're doing. And the fact that they're kind of getting some play here is nice. But from a trading perspective, it's just kind of consolidating here over the last few days, maybe setting up. As long as it's holding above these moving average, you could see another leg higher on the upside there. ZIL, we didn't look at ZIL. ZIL was on my radar here. I was looking at ZIL for a potential pullback entry on the USD side, and it just kind of rolled over here. But let's go here real quick. Now, the positive is ZIL's been holding this lower trend line for quite some time, and it's still holding it, but it's testing it again, right? So let me clear some of these lines. I had a false breakout back here. So you had this rally, you had this breakout, pulled back, consolidated, looked like it was going to get going again, another big breakout, and then just pulled right back in. So it's been very choppy, very tough one from a short-term perspective to trade. Long-term looks nice, still holding the trend line, but if it starts to lose that level, it's not going to look positive, especially considering the two recent breakout attempts that just have not been able to show some follow-through. So it's kind of an interesting level here right now. So it's at a juncture. So basically 2,200, breaking below that starts to look negative for ZIL, considering the recent pop and drop. I think that's it. Cool. We got a first timer here, a first time live streamer. Thanks for being here. Apparently at the end, maybe. I didn't give much notice today. I was going to record a quick video update, but then you know me, I'd rather do live streams because I like the interaction with you guys. So these turn out to be longer videos, but they're a little bit more fun. Yeah, you're right. It just depends on your strategy. Buying into support is always a good, and you have a good clear stop. So there's certainly nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I hear you. You need more often live streams. I've considered doing like no more videos for YouTube and only doing live streams. We'll see. But I know a lot of folks appreciate the shorter videos because they just want the quick update and they don't want to sit through an hour live stream, and I can totally understand that as well. So there's a balance. But okay, my friends, hey, thanks for being here as always. If you want more information about this, go check it out. Hit me up on Twitter if you need more information or if you have any questions. But as always, happy trading. Take care, everyone. Talk to you later.